Hello, my name is Elizabeth, but you can call me Liz, and in today's video, we will be talking about more urban theories and legends. So if you want to see that, keep on watching. But first, let's intro it.
Mój dans makabre, więc chodź do tańca, gdy krótko szansa i los nam gra. Mam duszę starca, nie ubywam za nam.
Listen to this.
Saludos para las panaderas y panaderos del mundo. Acusi, acusi, cocinela. Ai cocinela, qui pita mai qui ta male me ta moya ma te chalu papa tu bari kare ma qui ta dai tuira ya o be mele ka me che tau ni a chuli se banu kwasi ya tu ni ba e kama a e ma ka ta ku uti chinale te mo tai ne ya o me mele ka me che tau ne ne cocinela e ku chu da a sa ta pile 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 tu
Hey, so I actually have no idea what language that is in. I think it's some type of Spanish type related language, pero no sé de qué lenguaje es eso. Y si saben, leave it down in the comments. Please, I want to know what language this is. Like, when I was like 15, I went to Mexico and my grandmother gave me like the CD that had like a bunch of songs burned into it. But like, I have no idea what the fuck that language is. Like, I'm pretty sure it has to be some type of like, maybe like native Spanish language, indigenous type of language. Because I know they speak Spanish porque dicen pampa Dios, pero no sé. Entonces, si saben el lenguaje de esa canción, por favor, díganme. Desde que tenía 15 años quiero saber qué lenguaje es eso. But this is a good segue into our video. So I did one video about 5 Korean urban legends. Since I'm living in Korea, that makes sense. So this one is 5 Mexican urban legends and or theories. So a lot of these are gonna be like what I grew up hearing, and also just like what I found on the internet researching like. So I feel like a lot of the common ones, especially like nowadays, are like La Llorona, Chupacabras, you feel stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of these like urban legends are meant to keep children from misbehaving. So they're like meant to like be like, oh, do this bad stuff and like this will happen, or this thing will take you away from your parents. And you know, as a child, you're like, the fuck? You don't want to be taken away from your parents. You're like 5 years old, 7 years old. You're like, what? Why? So let's begin. Number 1. So number 1, I feel like is more of a something that our parents always tell us. Like, it's something that I don't know if it's like considered an urban legend and or theory per se, but it's definitely, I feel like, something that we grew up hearing all the time. I went from like hearing this to being that person. And it's like, beware of the strange lady or man. So a lot of the time the parents are like, oh, si no te portas bien, esa señora o esa muchacha o ese señor te va a llevar a su casa, or stuff like that. You're like, the fuck?
So, as I have no sense.
Again, told to younger children so they're not misbehaving, they're not being little brats. And it can be about anyone as long as like the person is older than the child. It can be like, if you're 16, you're like, oh, esa muchacha te va a llevar a su casa. Or if you're like an old man, ese señor te va a llevar a su casa. And like I said, I went from being the little kid that was told or heard about my sister to being that strange lady. Because now my aunts have like small children, or like I know people with small children, and they're always like, si no te portas bien, esa muchacha se va a llevar a su casa.
thankfully, like, I look young enough. I'm still a muchacha and not a señora, but like, I went from being the little kid to being the strange lady. So,
kind of referring to like, yo, chill the fuck out, or like they're gonna kidnap you and you're never gonna see your family ever again. Which, in perspective,
it's me. Weird. Why wouldn't you tell that to your children? But alas, it is Mexican culture.
Okay, number 2. So, I actually found this on Reddit by r-paranormal. So, it was talking about many states, like in Texas and all over Mexico, there have been like sightings of like beautiful like people, and in this case men, who like swoon ladies off their feet and they dance with them in nightclubs, and they just like, hearts everywhere, and the ladies just like are so attracted to these like men because they're so goddamn beautiful and attractive, and so they dance with them and they're like swept off their feet and shit, and like most of them accept to dance with him, but he always tells them, don't look down at my feet, which, I mean, human logic. If someone tells you not to do something, you want to do it, so a lot of them look down into their shock and or horror. They see that the man has either horse legs and or more common goat legs. And like after they see the feet and they notice it, like many of the women go crazy, some die and some disappear. And I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of heard this here and there, you know, murmurs around the vine, you know, the paranormal vine. I found it like quite fascinating because the person who like wrote this story said that the mom, who is from Morocco, had a very similar story, but instead of it being an attractive man, it was an attractive woman. And this insanely,
like, I'm talking like drop dead gorgeous, like Kim Tae-hyun type of gorgeous, like Kento Yamasaki, Nam Joo-hyuk type of gorgeous.
And this woman dressed in white seduces men into empty areas or goes to, in Morocco, what is called hammam. And similarly, she's like, oh, she warns them like, yo, don't look down on my feet.
But like, again, human logic, we're told not to do something and we want to do it 10 times more.
They notice, she has goat feet, and like they go insane and die and disappear. So I was like, oh, that's very like interesting how we can have a story from Mexico with an insanely attractive man, but also a story from Morocco on the other side of the world with an insanely attractive woman, and it's like very similar. Like they both give warnings, they both have goat feet, and their both intended target looks down at the feet, they go insane, die, and or go missing. Oh duh, the devil. Who else has goat legs? The devil. But like I also read one of the things that it's human nature for us to fear the unknown, I guess, or like, you know how you see someone and they're super attractive and
you're like, simply notice me.
but then you're like also scared because you have this fear of being deceived by their beauty, and like, oh, they're beautiful, but like what else? Like, is this the only thing? Like, what if they turn out to be complete assholes? I found that so interesting. Okay, number 3.
So I asked my sister to help me and to ask my parents, but this little person, Safety, was like, oh yeah, the most common, la 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 la. So I was like, you're no help at all, Safety.
What's up? What's good, poppin'? But like, I did some research, and a lot of the, again, on Reddit, the third one is La Lechuza, or the Lady Witch Owl. In a lot of cultures, I believe, both crows, black cats, and owls are basically death omens. So if you see that, it's basically like, yo, if you hear like a owl like who. If you see an owl like, you know, hooting, that obviously means like, oh, someone, you're gonna die, or someone in your family is gonna die, according to Mexican culture, which is terrible. How they became basically La Lechuza was that she was a witch who was exposed for practicing magic, and the angry townsfolk, you know, being small-minded people, went on a rampage and killed her, and she basically returned from the grave seeking revenge. People who are very powerful and who are like warlocks, witches, who are all into that, can summon La Lechuza and like basically hex you, put a curse on you, and this like Lechuza person like goes and like does the deed because she was summoned by this other unknown person. So like apparently a lot of people say the best way to get rid of it is to curse at it.
Like be like, beep, 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 you little, you know?
Let it know you don't want it around, and like eventually if it's for you, you can only hear it screeching.
So like, you might not be crazy, might not, is,
If you're the only one who hears it and the others don't, because it's just meant for you. And like after a while of you
being like, I don't want you here in my house, get off my lawn type of thing,
the person who hexed you will like eventually be summoned to your house and be like, oh, well, fuck you, you know, kind of thing. And it's like a lot of sightings have been like reported in Texas, but also a lot of native owls. That's their home, that's where they live. And so a lot of people think that it's not actually this witch lady, but it's actually just like a great horned owl or a barred owl. So it's just like a regular owl. It's not a witch, but you know, it could be both. So, number 4. So I feel like when talking about Mexican folklore and legends, there's so many of them depending on the region where you were born, blah 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 blah, you know. But I feel like a lot of the times it has to do with witches. And Mexican witches are like, I feel like a little different from like American witches, so to say, because the American witches for the most part are portrayed in either a good or bad light. It's like, oh, you have a good witch who, like, I'm pretty sure there's a movie with the name like the Good Witch or something, who's trying to bring white magic, and you have the bad witch, like the Hansel and Gretel type of story. For Mexican witches, I feel like present in the culture, a lot of parents have been like, yo, when I was a child, this happened, or they found this lady and she was actually, and there have been many sightings of actual witches on like actual brooms just casually flying in like some mountainous desert. I found that so interesting because it's not only my parents, but it's my aunts, uncles, and probably like a lot of the parents. I hear like they were like, oh yeah, when I was younger I went to a jail because there was this witch that was captured. But like again with the story about the insanely attractive man with the goat legs, she had torso and head were a human. The bottom part, it ranged from like animal feet, so it ranged from chicken feet to the famous goat feet. Apparently the way to kill this witch, because a lot of the time many misfortunes happen and they would always blame the witch, and if you kill the witch then your misfortunes would stop because it was the witch that was causing this. A lot of the townspeople would go out and hunt for her feet. Basically, if you find her real human legs, you have to burn it, and that way it kills the witch. You have to do this only at night, because if it goes by the sunrise, she will change back into her human form and disappear and probably leave because you threatened to kill her, and take a new human form and like go to another town. This is like some real shit that's happened like 40 years ago, and it's not even that long ago, but it's so interesting. Something you would hear, I feel like, from the 1800s, not like 40 years ago or 30.
Mexican culture has witches and warlocks and gnomes and, you know, all the above.
Number 5 is like something that I heard as a child, but my parents didn't actually explain it. So I heard more of like La Llorona, the strange man, like witches, stuff like that. And this was something that a lot more of my cousins heard than me. So I heard it in passing, but I was like, the fuck is this? So I, you know, did more research for this video. And it's El Cucuy, which is basically a Wesen, I think, and a local boogeyman. I've heard the boogeyman story. So this is the Mexican version of the boogeyman. I knew that this like person was not a good person, obviously. I didn't know when I was researching more, it was like, oh, this is more like a vigilante type of Wesen. When it's like, again, as well as the witches, in the daytime they have a human form like you and I, but in the nighttime their form changes. And for this particular one, his form has yellow eyes, a wide mouth filled with razor sharp teeth, sharply pointed ears, and long claws, and they have gray hair, so in their head and in their chin. And most of them are guys, and they have the ability to hear cries from miles away. Let's say there's a town and it's being plagued by the mafia, A, B, C, and D, like all these casualties are happening, and like the local women cry for help. So El Cucuy like hears this and goes and helps them. He punishes those that have done wrong. Same time, parents use this as a, oh, if you are misbehaving, this person will come and like kill you because you're doing something wrong. Surprised to find out that a lot of like the articles and Reddit and everything said that he was more of a vigilante type of like Wesen who administered their own justice. and their attacks are said to be very, very brutal to the people that have been causing the harm. They slash the victims' throats and A, B, C, and D. They kill the bad people, mafia members, rapists, gang members, yada yada yada, all the bad people. And then they move on to the next town when that's done. Oh, I've heard of it being like, oh, do this bad thing and he's gonna come and kidnap you. But I didn't know about like, oh, this dude can also be a vigilante, which I found quite interesting. So yeah. Like I said, there are so many more urban legends and theories based on Mexico, especially because it differs probably from region to region, town to town, and like this and that. But I feel like these are known but not well known, like La Llorona has become, or the Chupacabras. Like I feel like those are more well established in our communities now. That's it. Let me know down in the comments down below which one you have heard of, or if you have heard other like urban legend and theories que han escuchado en sus juventudes. Pues, no juventudes, but más niñeces. Because I feel like these are more meant for children. Be like, oh, you're doing this bad thing. Well, A, B, C, or D is not gonna like that. Like this video if you want to see more urban legend and or theories. It was really fun researching, and like again, I found it so interesting that they have similar stories in Mexico and Morocco. Subscribe down below for more random shit, because that's what I'm here for. Don't forget to follow me on my social medias. Everything as E_GomezLiz, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye. See you next time.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.